Creativity Cave. I am just so excited to be with you. I hope that you are excited too. I gotta get my watercolor lips on because you know that's like totally a thing. I hope that you are having a really wonderful time so far. I am just loving this whole thing. Oh, a really wonderful time so sorry, far. I did something bad. Oh no, cancel. Oh boy. Okay, we're still going. This happens to me sometimes. I was trying to pull my stream up and then it, well, long story short, give me just a sec. I was all set to go and then I messed it up. That's just kind of how it goes. I'm just trying to pull this up on my phone so I can see your comments a little easier, especially once I flip my camera around, but I think I've got it now, so we're good. Okay, so let me finish putting on my painting lips. Goodness gracious. Okay. So, haha. All right. Well, first of all, welcome everybody. Make sure to let me know where you are watching from. Give me the thumbs up because that just helps so much with the YouTube. They love it when you like my videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. That would just rock my world. I am super excited to be painting with you again tonight because you know what? It's just always a good idea to paint. I hope you enjoyed last night. I really had a lovely time with you, and I think I shared a lot of information. But so that's just how it goes, you know? I think tonight will be a little bit less of information overload and a little more just having fun. We are going to play around with some things. One of the things that I love about this, and I don't know if I really said this last night or not, but it's just kind of like a meditative thing to paint. And I love that you don't have to necessarily have an end piece in mind. You can just play to have fun. Oh my gosh, Julie, are you doing Ragbri? So Ragbri is oh goodness, I can't remember what it stands for. Basically, it's where Iowans ride all the way across the state of Iowa from the Missouri River to the Mississippi River. I'm on the Mississippi River side of things. I figured it was you, Julie. And it is, I've never done it, but it's really kind of wild to participate in. I think there's a pretty big contingent of people who drink through the event, and I think it's like 400 miles. It's like a real deal. So, oh, Julie says her husband Paul is doing it. Tell him to bike faster. Paul runs marathons. He's quite a runner. And we used to joke that we should hold signs up when he runs that say run faster. I still want to do that for Carl. So anyway, Ragbri is going on. Somebody asked about sweet corn. Well, sweet corn is a very big thing in Iowa, and it's like peak sweet corn right now in Iowa. Oh, corn sweat, Iowa. That actually is a real thing. And it is 100% sweaty corn right now. It's crazy. It is actually a real thing where the corn actually gives off a lot of humidity. And it's like approximately 110% humidity right now. The temperature, let me see. Oh, come on. The temperature is 86. It feels like 500 because of the humidity. It's really hot and awful. But it is going to be a lovely evening, and this is really wonderful weather to paint in a nice cool basement like this one. So I hope that you guys are ready for that. Mary asked if I can show my sketchbooks. I would love to show you some of my sketchbooks. We might get to that tonight, but for sure this week I will do that. Okay, so first off, any questions that you might have, please make sure and let me know. I would love to answer your questions. I know, especially when you're starting something new, I don't want you to be frustrated. If you do have a question you need help with, let me know so I can help you along the way, because it is just no fun being frustrated, especially with something that's supposed to be super fun, right? So tonight we are going to look a little bit deeper into our paint brushes and see what they can do. We're going to do a little practice. And then I have a list of things that we're going to paint. And then I'm going to show you some of the things that I made with our stuff from last night. I made some pretty cards, so I will be excited to share those with you. Dottie asked what my pencil is that I use. The mechanical pencils, I don't know, it's kind of like whatever you like. I have this Pentel, I think. Oh, no. Oh, it's a uni ball, but it's a pencil. That's what this one is. It's just a number 2 pencil. I think you can get it at Target or whatever. I actually have, if you've taken any of my other watercolor classes, I did not include it this time in our box just because I included the gel pens instead. But I have a pencil that I like using for watercoloring is like a 6H or higher, a higher number. That is like a drawing pencil. I'm not an artist and I don't understand pencils, but H stands for hardness, and B, I don't know what B stands for, but it means it's soft. So you want a hard lead pencil. And for instance, a number 2 pencil is, I think, an HB, which means it's kind of in the middle of the spectrum of graphite. But I like a really hard one. You can get them at like art supply places, or it's not, of all the supplies, that's like the least critical one. So don't worry about it. Okay. So tonight we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna work on some brush strokes. This is something I actually do very regularly because you can take your brush strokes and turn them into fun and exciting things. And then I am going to show you a couple of fun things that you can make with those brush strokes. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna flip my camera around, and oh, I'm also gonna show you I have a stash, a stash of goodies, so to speak. I have to manage the chaos in my office for a brief moment here. But I want to mention, I have listed the remainder of my boxes for this event in the registration link. There should be a link in the description of this video for you. And if you would like to get a box, make sure to register sooner rather than later. When you register for the box, you're going to get all kinds of fun goodies in it. And I'll show you, I'll grab my box here in just a second. I'll show you those goodies. I've left out a few surprises for you. And you'll also get a PDF of this event. Now you can register for just the PDF. It will include all kinds of extra items in it, photos of projects. I think I'm actually going to squeeze an additional video in or 2 for the PDF people, just because I can't fit everything into our lives this week. And then there's going to be another fun little bonus if you've got the PDF, or if you've got the box, or if you're part of Paint with Dina. So lots of good reasons to purchase that PDF. Reminder that these videos will be available through July 31st. And after that, they will only be available if you did the PDF, the box, or paint with Dina. So let's get started. I'm going to flip my camera around and we're going to take a look at some of the projects that I created with our goodies. So from yesterday that we made. I'm kind of excited. Well, actually, I suppose I should show you the box too. Okay, so the box is really fun, if I can just say. I love the box. The box is going to be a little kit of fabulous goodies that you can use to create fabulously fun things. First off, it's got a little sketchbook in it. And let me pull this up just a bit. So we've got a sketchbook, and the sketchbook is really a great way to kind of practice and keep a record of what you're learning. I love using sketchbooks, and I think you guys will see the value in it as we continue on. You also are getting a sampling of several different types of papers. We have Bao watercolor paper, which is probably my favorite paper to use. We have Canson watercolor paper, which is like a student grade paper. And then we also have Fluid 100. It is another really good paper, but not my favorite. Then we've got a little water bottle. You can use this to wet down your paint. We've got a Micron waterproof archival permanent black pen. We've got some gel pens in metallic colors and white. We've got a cute little ruler because you can always use that, and a little crayon. Some tape and a clip. So there's all kinds of fabulous goodies. And there's a couple more things in here that I have not shown. Because you got to have some surprises, right? When your box comes, I like to surprise and delight. So hopefully this box will do that for you. And of course it comes with a piece of watercolored paper on top, which just makes my heart happy. Okay, so now again, if you get the box, you'll get the PDF, which will again include all the links to the videos that you can continue to watch after the 31st of July. And you'll also get some bonuses in that PDF. Like I said, it's going to have lots of fun things in it. So here are some cards that I put together using our pieces that we made last week. And you're going to laugh when I tell you one of these things, but here's this piece. You can see I cut the yellow, orange, and kind of reddish ones out and created this card, including this piece in the center. So this is the Beautiful Butterflies bundle, and it's really pretty how this worked out. Sherry, I did get your email. I thought I responded to it, but you can just register. There's a little thing that has your name in it for the upgrade. So yeah, go ahead and do that. Then we have this beautiful piece. This one is, remember this one with the salt? Oh, I loved how this turned out last night. And I die cut this. This is from the Wonderful Words bundle, I want to say, or wonderful, I can't remember, and I don't have it handy, sorry. Anyway, it's a set of words, but then there's one little flower image in there, and then all the words get die cut. So there's that. Here is another card. This one is this, I don't think I actually made this piece last night. I had made it before, but I die cut, I die cut this and decorated it again with my beautiful butterflies. I love butterflies for watercoloring, die cutting. I think it's just super fun. Okay, now I'm going to show you my favorite one. That is this card. Look at how beautiful this is. Super duper simple. This is from either the Beautiful Motifs or the Beautiful Gallery. I always mix up which dies come in which set, but I die cut that out of my Canson paper because it's a little heavier paper. I die cut this piece from here, and I used the textured notes dies for this rectangle, and then I just stamped Just Because. That is from the Blooming Phrases bundle, and I just love how this turned out. I just think it's so gorgeous. The background is embossed with the what is this? The exposed brick embossing folder. So just such beautiful, beautiful cards. So, so easy to make. And really fun. Now, one thing that I did do is I did die cut a bunch of pieces of cardstock. This is actually watercolor paper, like Canson watercolor paper, from various dies that we've got in the catalog, various sets of dies, I guess I should say. Like there's little dies, big dies, and then I just have them in this little container here. So when I'm going to make some cards, I've got a bunch of pieces I can work from. When I've got, you know, bigger areas that I can die cut out with a larger shape like that. So there's lots of possibilities for these. One other thing is I want to do this. I'm afraid to die cut this just a little. I will for sure do it. I didn't quite have time to do this one, but I'm thinking about using the Sunshine Vibes bundle to die cut this. Of course, in this set, we've got all of the rainbow pieces. I do have the other, there's one more in here that cuts a bunch of rainbow arches. And so I'm thinking that would be perfect for this one. I just didn't have time to kind of figure out what combination of arches I wanted to do with this, but I think that will be a really cool card, and I'll try and have that made up for tomorrow night when we are live. So I think that will be so fun to play with this piece. I really loved how this one came out, so I was very happy with that. Okay, now I wanted to show you one other thing, and this is really funny. I have kind of amassed a collection of basically background pieces. So let me kind of show you some of these. I love doing these because, you know, you just end up, this is like leftover hunks that I've done, but you've got all these pieces that you can then turn into cards, or you can die cut. You can do whatever you need to do. So sometimes I make them up on purpose just so that I have a bunch to work from. And I kind of did some single colors, as you can see. Those of you who've been around the block with me, these are all done with my Mission palette. I showed that one last night. And those just make such beautiful, bright colors. And so all of these can be used either to die cut shapes out of, to use as backgrounds, to die cut images out of. This is not, here's a couple of not pretty ones. I don't even know what I have going on there, so bleh. But these are the good ones. So these are kind of like rainbow colors. You can do lots of different things with. These are, again, pieces that I've just played around with. Here's a really good example of the difference in paper. Okay, this is Canson paper, the wood pulp kind of paper, and this is cotton paper. And do you see how much vibrancy difference there is there? I use the exact same colors. I did these around the same time, you know, so that they were similar amounts of paint and everything, but you really see the difference in how vibrant things are in this one. I think it really shows how much different things can be. So anyway, this is a really fun activity. You can see I put some salt on here. I didn't really like how it turned out. I think I had too much salt. You know, it's kind of pretty up here, but over here it looks weird. So I don't know, just having fun, experimenting with different things. This one I spritzed with metallics as well as white gouache. Here's another really good one. Oh, this one is fun as well. This is the palette we're using for this event, and lots of metallic paint on there. Now this is kind of a fun thing. This is one, I didn't really like how the heart turned out, but I can die cut areas of this heart and use it for something else. So I just love all the different things that you can do with this. Again, this is our palette that we're working with. So is this. Just, I love doing these backgrounds, and then I love having them on hand. These are ones I've done from quite a while ago. Another thing, these are just like a bunch of circles that kind of ended up running together, but I like how it looks, so I think they're going to be fun to play with. So many fun pieces. You can see I've got a nice little collection here so that whenever I need to die cut some things, I've got some stuff to work with. So there you go. And they were all fun to make. So I love that part. Another thing I wanted to show you were what these pieces look like from last night. I love this one. Love how this turned out. This was the one we taped off the edges. And this one I don't really like that much. So isn't that kind of funny? But I can use this to practice some different things with. So it's never, you know, it's never a bad thing. We also did some circles last night. So these are nice and dry. Let's take a look at these circles, and because they're in our sketchbook, and I love that they're in our sketchbook, we can kind of practice and play around with them and see what different types of things you can do. Jessie said the links for the paper only go to gel pens. I will fix that after I'm done here tonight. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I've got an 05 marker. This is what comes in your box. And I want to just do some doodles on here. And if you don't like doodles, I have some alternatives for you. Don't worry. But I encourage you to practice doodling a little bit. Doodling can be as simple as just drawing lines. It can also be complicated. You can do whatever you want. But I like to practice this. So I'm going to make like a little vine on here. And I'm just going to draw little leaves. But what's fun about this is we also have lots of stamps that you can stamp in place of doodling. So I'll show you a few different options for you. So that's just a simple little like vine. Another thing, and this is probably one of my favorite things to do, is to just start with a little circle, a little dot, and then I'm going to go around and just do scallops around the dot. And I want the scallops to be roughly the same size. I ended up with 5, maybe you have 6. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue doing the same size like loop really in between each of the ones I just did. Okay, now you can leave it like this or you can continue on. So let's go ahead and keep doing. More and more circles. So now I'm just kind of, as you can see, going around, putting in more of these. I want to keep them about the same size. Sometimes you can't, but okay, so this is not rocket science, believe me. And again, I could stop here or I can keep going around. So easy. And by the way, I know many of you, like me, enjoy stamping because either you can't draw or you don't like to draw, whatever. I love stamping because I'm not very good at drawing things. But I find that this doodling is, it's not high pressure. It's not high stakes drawing like I've never tried to draw a person or well, beyond a stick figure anyway, or like a pet portrait or something. That's so not my wheelhouse. But I can draw little doodles like this pretty easily. And I think they're really fun and relaxing. I'm just literally drawing loops. It's nothing too fancy or crazy. And again, you could watch me do this all night, but look at how cool that's starting to look as we get going. Kathy says you saw the place to order my paint palette, but you weren't able to find it. If you just drop me an email, Kathy, I can help you with that. What are the pens? It's the only supply I need and a better paint set. I put a bunch of links, and I'm pretty sure the pens are in the links in this video. So take a look. If you can't find them, let me know and I will share. Also, your PDF will have all kinds of supplies that I like using, so you can check that out. Now, so we did some fun things. Another fun thing you can do is follow what's happening in these circles and create some doodles based on that. I also love doing this. So if I look at this circle right here, I can see that there's kind of some wavy lines where the paint colors mixed. So I'm going to kind of work on that, and I'm just going to kind of follow those doodle lines. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. Believe me, it's not, but I'm just kind of following these natural lines created when the paint mixes. And then I'm drawing that in. And I think that looks kind of neat. So you can leave it like that, or you can take and add some more doodles to this. One thing I like doing is just dots. So I think most of us can just do a dot, 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 polka dot on here. And that just kind of fills out the space a little bit. You can add lots of dots, little bit of dots, medium amount of dots, whatever you like. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. Another thing that I love doing, let's come down to this one. Here we've got kind of several ranges of colors, and so we can play with dots and lines with this one as well. So let's trace those lines around this. And again, I'm not being super perfect about it at all. I just enjoy putting some patterns down on this. Again, this is just so relaxing to do. Okay, so that's one area. Then we have kind of another area, and maybe we'll just do this. Now I'm keeping it in this circle. We're not going outside the circle. I'm just going to stay in this area. And then what I can do is I can put some dots, like more dots where it's dark. And this is pretty dark. There's even a little line here, so I could kind of draw that in. And then where there's less, the value of the pigment is a little lighter there, I can put fewer dots. So I'm putting lots of dots where it's dark and fewer dots where it's light. And that's just kind of creating, you know, some interest. Here it's a little lighter, so I'm not going to space my dots quite as close together. So again, these are just fun things that you can do. Oh my goodness. I'm giggling. Branda has me streaming on her phone and on both her craft room TV and living room TV. That's a lot of me. Whoa. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that, Branda. That's too much. Okay, so this is really fun. It is also really fun to see how things look when you use another color. So I've got my gel pen, and what I want to do is grab just a scrap of something I've painted here. I pulled this from the pile. And I like to just practice to make sure my gel pen is working on a painted area. And then I can do the exact same thing on here. And I can see there's kind of like two layers of color here. So we'll do kind of the border between both of these little areas. And if you need to make the area look different, you can. And then what you can do is put dots on here. Like that. And I think this gives a totally different look when you use white gel pen, so that's really fun. Another thing is you've also got this gold. There's also silver. I don't happen to have the silver one handy because silver would probably look better on this blue piece, but that's okay. Again, I just like to try it out to make sure it's going to work because I hate when I put it on here and it doesn't work right. Let's see, what should we do here? Let's do another vine because this might be kind of fun to do on here. But this one I'm going to do a little different. So I'm going to draw kind of a stem and I'm going to put a leaf at the tip of this. And then I'm just going to do, this is a little bit different because we're going to make the leaves get bigger as we go down. Now, one thing, and you'll see this here in just a minute when we start painting, is I feel like I've really improved my drawing skills, like in things like leaves, because of painting. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, now you can also add in little veins if you want. So there's all sorts of things you can do to decorate this. Now, we've also talked about colored pencils. We've mentioned them a little bit. You can take colored pencils and add different things to your paintings as well. So let's take my favorite watercolor pencil to use is white. So what if we took this white pencil and did some doodling on here? Let's see, I'm just gonna sharpen this a little bit. So I have just a slightly sharper tip. But I'm going to, let's see, what should I do? I think I'm just going to do some dots on here. Okay, and so these are going to be subtle. Just doing polka dots. But this is a fun way to dress something up with a nice light color. So this is a white color pencil. These are watercolored pencils, so they, I mean, you can wet them down and blend them and whatnot. Let me find a blue. There's one in here that's just called blue. So let's take that one and we're gonna bring it over. Actually, we'll do this right here. This one's kind of a mess, so I think this would be a good one to just go like this. I'm just gonna go around and round in circles on here with my pencil, and I think I'll do it over here too, just to sort of balance things out. And that just adds a fun look. You can also do that with black. Do we have two sets of watercolor pencils still? I can't remember. I apologize that I'm asking you this. I should know that. But you know, sometimes when you're live, you just don't have all the information. I think we only have one set. We used to have two. So I think the pencil I want in here is in here. I'm going to take black. Okay, and I'm going to I want to balance this out. So I'm going to take and put some black right there and right there. Now, normally I would probably stick to one color of things, like I would stick to black gel pen and whatever accents I did, or black and white. I probably wouldn't do black, white, and metallic all in the same thing, but I think it's just fun to play around with this. Another thing I can do is, let's test this. And you know, if you're not sure what it's going to look like, it's always good to test. But what I love about this, I don't see a green. Where's my green? Oh, maybe that's it. One thing, and this is probably not the right color of green, but that's okay. One thing I love about your sketchbook is you can kind of, yeah, that is not the right color of green. It's old olive, and this is more granny apple. It does not look like we have granny apple anymore. Okay, I have an old set, and I bet many of you do too. We do have two sets. Okay, thank you, Robin. Oh, look, granny apple green. Perfect. This needs a little pencil sharpen. One of the things that your sketchbook is so great for is just keeping a record of ideas. So even, you know, this might not be something that is going to look that great, but okay, we can just add fun things to it. So here I'm doing kind of leaf-like shapes around my circle. I would probably turn the page to get them to look a little more even, but that's, again, just kind of fun little things to decorate this with. Now to just balance this out, since I have gold here, I'm going to do some gold circles over here. So here I'm gonna follow the dark area of this with gold circles. And you can do them bigger, smaller, whatever you're patient for. And again, just drawing these little circles is so just relaxing to me. I like painting more, but I do enjoy this as well. It's just kind of fun, and there's not really any right or wrong answers to this. But what I've now done is I've created a little mini library of lots of different types of doodles that I can refer back to in the future. So I think that's kind of fun. One more flowery kind of design that I'm going to do here. I'm going to start again with that dot in the center, and this time I'm going to kind of do like little ovals. So there's 2. I'm going to start with 2, and then I'll do 2, 2, and then I'm going to go from the middle of each to the middle of the next. So each time around, these are getting a little bigger. And that just creates a nice little flower. And you can go all the way around as many times as you want. Sometimes they get really big, so you kind of have to throw another hump in. But like literally all I did was add some oval-y shapes. So super duper duper easy. Okay, so that's all fun stuff. And now I have a little record that I can refer back to. I also like doing this. I like saying when I did this. So I finished this on 7/22 of 25. And now I can remember how awesome I was on this day. So a really fun little activity. Personally, my favorite part is painting them, but I do like embellishing them. Sometimes I find I'm in the painting mood. Other times I find I'm in the embellishing mood. And so you can kind of work on whichever one feels right to you. Again, why I love having my sketchbook, because I can kind of do what feels good at the moment. This gel pen I can see is still a little wet, so it's probably because it's so humid out still. Okay, so now let's do another activity. Something that I love doing. See, here's some more circles. Something that I love doing is practicing what I can do with my paintbrushes. So let's get a little painting going here. So the set of brushes that comes with your box of supplies. By the way, did I mention there's brushes with your box of supplies? I don't think I actually talked about that. You get this lovely little collection of brushes. These are good, not great brushes. The price was right, you know what I mean? So this is a great introductory set of brushes. For those of you who've been painting with me a little longer, if you're looking to kick up things a little bit, I just got some brushes that I've really fallen in love with. They're a little bit more expensive, but I will share that information in Paint with Dina. So you can see about that. But I like these brushes because, of course, the color is Dina all the way. Now, they are numbered from like 1, I think. They start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's different types of brushes. So there's this brush right here is called generally a liner. And what's kind of, I'm going to start with that because it's a number 1. What's kind of cool about this particular brush is that it is really good for doing line work. It's a brush I probably use the least out of all of mine. Sorry, I had to get my little ceramic palette here. Now, I think I mentioned this last night. I have some prizes, and I had one prize last night, but then I thought, ooh, I could do some more prizes. So the way you get entered for prizes is you're just registered for the event. Of course, there's a free option, there's a PDF option, and then there's a kit option. But this little ceramic palette is one of the things I'm going to give away. Another thing I'm going to give away is one of these pretty clips. I think I have a mountain one, and it's one of these heavy brass ones. So that's kind of fun. And then I've got a couple other prizes. So I've got some prizes, so make sure you're entered. And again, the registration link is in the description. So I'm just gonna, I've got a little water. I still don't have I don't have any of those water bottles left, but I just ordered some more. So I'll have those probably tomorrow night, hopefully. I'm just doing this off camera so I don't get water all over my table, but I just spritzed this with my little water bottle. And I'm just gonna pick up some paint, and we're gonna do a little painting with these. Now, what I like to do is I wet down my paint. Beth Ann had a question, and it was a really good question, to be honest. It's something that it takes a little bit of time to figure out, but you'll get there, I promise. And that is, how do you figure out how much paint and water combo you need? So this exercise is actually going to help you figure that out a little bit, and I'll show you what I mean. I like to pick up the paint off my palette, and this is a teeny little thing, right? My set of paints has got this teeny little thing. So I can get some paint on my brush and then kind of swirl it around, in this ceramic palette. If you don't have a ceramic palette, that's okay. You can use the lid of your palette, and the other version of this, the white one I showed you last night, you can use the lid of that as well. But you can mix it around in here. But what we're going to do is just play around with what happens here. So this is a liner, which means that you can do all kinds of details like this. Okay, or you can do straight lines, really, really fine, 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 fine lines. Look at how skinny those are. I like to take and practice things like, what happens when I go on the side of my brush? Well, that's kind of ugly, but maybe you did something where you wanted some cool texture like that. Maybe you were making a background where you wanted it to not be boring, and so you put some texture here. We've got a little more paint, so look at that. A little more paint and a little more water. So here's a really good example of knowing how much water is in your paintbrush and what it will get. So this is what I would call a dry brush, meaning there was not enough paint or water in the bristles to give a nice, good paint swatch. This one, when I added more water and paint to my brush, I dipped it back in my little ceramic dish. Then I got this nice kind of bold line. I'll just go over it once more. This is not the kind of brush you want to use to cover a large area, because really what it's for is doing these super fine lines. But I like to get a feel for what I can do. So here I'm just kind of giving it a little more pressure. I'm getting those jagged edges, so that means there's probably not enough water in my bristles or enough paint. Now, if there's determining whether you have too much water or too much paint, here's another example. I just dipped this in water, so the pigment is low. And when I look at this going across, I can see, first of all, I can see water is literally kind of pooling. So that was kind of the big drip that came off my brush. And then it gets real light. Now, you might want it really light, but I know this is more of what that color is going to look like when there's a good amount of pigment on it. So the answer to the question is really, ultimately, it just takes patience and practice and experience to figure out what the right amount is. And there's not really a hard and fast rule of what's right or wrong about the amount of water and pigment ratio in your brush. Okay, but here's one thing you want to avoid. I just dipped this in here and the drip just fell on my hand, but you can see there's drips of water. And what happens is when you tip this down, if there's enough, sometimes those drips can drip off on your brush and then you can get a big blop of water, and that oftentimes you don't want. So be aware of that. So what I like to do is I like to kind of swoosh that around, put it in my palette, and then scrape off the edge. And that way I won't have too much water on my bristles. And then just start using it. Okay, so this is a number 3. I guess we skipped 2. We'll come back to it. And we're just gonna look at what happens here. I'm getting I like to kind of do as many lines as I can till I run out of paint to just get a feel for how far you can go basically with this. Okay, again, my bristles look really swollen, so I'm gonna tap off the excess, and then I'm going to just see what else I can do here. And isn't this fun? By the way, remember all those doodles we are doing with our pens? Well, you can do them with your paintbrush as well. Okay, I can see as I go that I'm running out of pigment on my paintbrush, or paint, I should say. So I went and picked some more up. Again, picking that up, and I kind of tap off that little bit of excess. And what that will also help prevent from happening is you getting unwanted blooms. Sometimes I love blooms, but sometimes I don't want blooms. Just kind of depends. Okay, so that was a number 3. Now my favorite thing to do is this brush stroke. This is called a simple stroke, where we're going to push, lift, or push, pull, and lift. Okay, so push, pull, and lift, and then what I get is a leaf. Okay, so I'm going to tap it, I'm going to push it and pull it and bring it up, and now I've got this teeny little leaf. So again, I'm going to put the tip of my brush down, I'm going to press it into my paper, I'm going to pull it, and then I'm going to bring it back up so that it kind of comes back into a point. If you want to do a bunch of these in a row, you can do it by just kind of keeping them connected like this. So I'm just kind of bringing it to a point, pulling it, pushing it down, pulling it, bringing it back to a point, pulling it. Okay. And I love practicing this over and over. I do this all the time. I just did it the other day. And what it does is it helps you figure out how far out your bristles will splay, how much water and paint you've got on your brush, what it looks like, how concentrated it is. Now, the other thing you can do with this is you can do 2 of these. So I'm going to push into one side, and then I'm going to do the same thing in the other. And what do I have there? I have a pretty little leaf or a pretty little flower petal. And this is something I literally can fill pages and pages, and not just these little pages either, full size pages, practicing these leaves. And I know I'm making it look probably pretty easy, but a lot of practice went into this. And again, I just think it's relaxing to just practice these shapes. Okay, let me give you another example of that. Well, actually, let's keep going. Sorry, I think this is my number 2. Nope. Oh, this is my number 2. Okay, so this is the number 2. And I'm just kind of going down my line of my paints. I'm kind of having fun with these pastel colors. Okay, so this is a number 2. It's what's called a flat brush. And so it just does a nice line. We have a fatter flat brush. We used it last night to make the little swatch sheet. So we'll look at that. But you can also do little lines. You can do vertical lines, horizontal lines, what have you. Lots of different things. can be done with this brush. You can actually do petals with it, like I did over there. Some people like petals with flat brushes. I actually only very, very recently learned how to do this. But again, we're just going to practice all of these things. See what our brushes can do. Okay, so that was, we did 1, 2, and 3. I'm not going to do every single one of these brushes, but you most certainly can. Trying to find, there's 3. Is this 4? Ah, this is what's called an angled brush. So the bristles, it's like a flat brush. So this one was flat, but this one has angles. And this brush we're actually going to use with that funky stencil that came in your box. And we'll cover that here another night. It's not happening tonight, but when we do that one, this is kind of a cool brush for that because you can do angles like this and boxes and different things, and it's really handy for that. You can do super skinny lines just like we did on this brush, but also on this kind of brush. Lots of these brushes can do the same types of things, but then look, I can even do my petals. It's a little trickier. So lots of possibilities. Again, just play and see what it can do. Another thing I like doing with these is you can do little lines like this. All kinds of fun. Okay, another, let's see, that was a 4. Ah, this is our 5. Okay, so this is called a fan brush. And a fan brush is really fun. So you can do all kinds of fun things like that. Like little sort of semicircles, little eyelashes, if you will. So it's really a fun one to add texture to a background with. My favorite thing to do with this, let me see if I've got a scrap paper here, is to take, and I want to get it nice and wet, but not too wet. And you can do like arches. Okay, I needed it wetter than I had it. So isn't that fun? Gives you cool little lines. Okay, now the other thing that I like to do whenever I'm practicing all of this business is to write what they are. So this is going to be my number 1. Let's see, I think this one was number 3, number 2, right? Number, or is that right? I can't remember now. This is a number 2. Oh, not that one. It was this one. This is a number 3. Well, I got all of this wrong. That was a number 1. Oh, this was still number 1. That's why. Okay, I changed each color. That's why I did each color, or each brush a different color. Sorry. Okay, so then this was a number 4. This is a number 5, and so on. So you can kind of see how it goes. Okay, there's one more brush that I want to show you. This number 3 is going to come in several sizes, this round brush. So you can see there's a small, medium, and large. These are the most used brushes in my arsenal, are these 3 round brushes. But we also have some other sized brushes. This is pretty similar to this, the flat versus the angle. There's another flat, and then there's like this funky flat. And I haven't done a lot with this, but I don't know, it's supposed to do kind of special effects, I guess. It's not one I reach for. And then there's a little bigger flat brush. You recall we used that last night to do our swatching. Okay, now there's one other type of brush in here. There's actually two, but this particular one is called a filbert. And a filbert just means it's a rounded edge. So it's like a flat brush, except it's got a rounded top. And this is really fun because you can get lots of different interesting looks with this one. I think this, no, I have used that color. Let's do a color we haven't used yet. We'll do lilac. By the way, I know I showed the paint palette, but I didn't tell you all the colors in the paint palette. I will post that in our Facebook group, and of course it'll be in our PDF. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this is just do some little lines, and you can see they start with kind of a curved line. And where this really is fun is when you're making a flower. So I'm just going to bring a bunch of these in together, and now I have a flower. And so the curve of the brush helps me make those petals. You can also use it on its side like this. So it's really fun to play around with. And lots of things. You can still do the leaves like we did over here. All brushes will do leaves. The other thing that I think is interesting about this one is it's pretty good for making circles. Okay. Now, Dottie asked a really good question, and she said, the number is not the size, it's the type of brush. No. So there's not like a standard numbering system that's consistent among all brushes. In fact, you could have like this one, I think was a number 3. I would, you might find another, well, actually here's another brand of a brush. This is a 6. And that's probably, you know, pretty similar. This is a 7. So yeah, those are pretty similar. But there's not a standardized numbering system. Here's another example of that. This is a 2, but this is a completely different type of brush. And so obviously the 2 is way bigger than this 3. So the numbers really aren't standard at all, but the name of the brush is. Now, oftentimes brushes will tell you what they are. So like this one says quill on it, and this is what's called a quill brush. It's just the type of brush. This one right here is a very nice brush. It's called a round brush, and it is round just like these. This one is an 8. So here we have an 11, and here we had the 6, 7. So obviously a little different, but similar. But these are all round brushes, these ones that I'm showing you. But different brands look a little different, and they also have different components, makeup of them. So these are basically, I think these might be called gold Taklon, I can't remember. They're what I call really springy brushes. So like the bristles snap right back. Most of them are synthetic brushes that we use. There are some real haired brushes. So if that bothers you, you might just be aware of that. But a lot of them are synthetic. So like, I'm pretty sure this is a synthetic squirrel brush. And what that means is they've made hairs that are like squirrel hairs. I know you're probably like, oh my gosh, the squirrels. Sable is another one. Those are very, very nice brushes, but they've made synthetic versions so that you don't have to be, let's just say, killing sweet animals so you can paint. But I will tell you the real hair brushes, wow, they're nice. So anyway, this is the kind, this brush, you can see this doesn't snap back quite as quickly. It'll stay a little bent. This is a different type of bristle, and it's just for different things. This will hold tons more water than one of these brushes will, the same size. So again, I'm not going to get into too much difference. What I've given you is very good basic stuff. Now these brushes, what you might have from Stampin' Up, They don't have these anymore just because the manufacturer stopped making them. But these brushes are basically plastic bristles, and they're, I don't want to say crap, but kinda. They're really good for painting in stamped images. So they worked great with Stampin' Up. They're also great because you can put water in the barrel, so they're great for travel. They're not my go-to in any shape, way, shape, or form. Because once you've used a regular paintbrush, you'll be like, oh yeah, now you can see like the bristles are splayed and they're not great. They also do not hold that much water very well. They're not great. So I think once you use an actual paintbrush, you'll be like, oh, I see the difference. I love it. Joanne says maybe they just get a trim. I know. You know what? It doesn't bother me, but I don't really think about it. Of all the things in this world to get bent out of shape over, that's just not on my bucket list. I eat meat and don't have a problem. I certainly don't want like animals tortured for my painting abilities, but it just isn't, it's not on my radar of things to be outraged about. There's so many other things, right? But I just want you to be aware of that in case that is something that you are passionate about. So there you go. Most brushes, by the way, these days are synthetic. Almost everything is. So, Teddy says, I can collect a lot of golden retriever hair to make brushes. I don't know that that hair is good for a brush, but I don't know. All right, so this is a really fun sampling of playing with your brushes. I encourage you to do this with all the brushes that you have and just get a feel for what each of them can do. I do want to do one more page of this, and I want to do it with one of the bigger brushes because we kind of started out with really small ones. I'm just going to put this paper in here because I know my page is still a little wet. Okay, so I want to take this bigger brush. This number 11 is probably the workhorse of this set here. It's one I probably use the most because you can do all kinds of things. You can make backgrounds with it. You can make flowers with it. You can do all kinds of things. The other one is probably this brush. We're going to use this here in just a little bit for some other things too. But what I want to do right now is just play with this and see what can happen. I don't think I've used this color of paint yet. So let's do that. So I'm going to do the same things I've been doing with all of these brushes, is just practicing. And one thing it takes a little practice is getting a nice line that's pretty even. It's easy to get kind of blotchy. And now here I'm doing a line with a little more pressure. And then I can do another line. I always like kind of mixing this in my palette just so I can distribute the paint. Doing another line with a little bit more pressure and just seeing what can happen. Get a little more pigment mixed in because I kind of picked up a lot of water. One thing you'll notice is the bigger the brush, the more water it can hold. So I want to see what that looks like, and I have too much water in here. I can tell that because like I can see like a bump and water might run. That means I have too much water. So to get rid of some of that water, all I need to do is literally just scrape the edge off on my container. You can touch it on the side of your water. You could, oh, I guess you can't see my water. My water's just out of, so like you can scrape it on your water jar, or you can just tap it on your paper towel that you might have, and that will get rid of some of the excess. Okay, so let's do that push, pull, push with this brush. And I have, because I just dipped it in the water, I didn't have much pigment on here, so let's do a little more pigment this time. And you can see it, you get much bigger results. A bigger brush, of course, would mean that you would get a bigger stroke. Let's practice those leaves. So 2 strokes to make a leaf. 2 strokes to make a leaf. Okay, another thing you can do, is draw a line, a skinny little line like we did there. I did it a little bit curved, and then I can draw little petals coming off. So remember when I said I was getting better at drawing branches with my pen, it's because I've been doing it with my paintbrush so much. Sorry, I'm just touching that up. I'm getting better at it because I keep practicing. Okay, so there we go. Let's see. Kenzie says, compared to acrylics, I love how long you can paint with each paint load. Yes, I do think watercolor lasts longer per brush stroke. You get, and I'm sure it depends on, how watered down or wet your brush is with either type of paint, because acrylic is obviously thicker, so it's going to look a little different. Let me do a little darker color now. We've been doing all these pastels. Let's pick up a little darker color here. I'm running out of spots on my palette. So this is Payne's Gray. I love this color actually for practice because it's easy to see what happens. So let me try this branch once again. Again, I'm just doing my curved line, and it's good to practice curved lines. Okay, so just practicing that, and then I'm just gonna do a leaf like that, and you can do them where they're together, where the leaves meet at the same spot on the branch, or you can offset them. I'll do that next. When I do this, I like to have the smaller petals at the top. And sometimes when I pull up my brush, I do a bad job, so I don't get a point at the end, and I can just kind of fix that. Watercolor is fairly forgiving, so that's nice. Here, I'm going to, I'm going to do a 2-stroke leaf, so it's a little fatter, and then I'll do them offset from one another so they're not at the same place. Now you can leave that little center white vein in there, or you can fill it in. Sometimes you just end up filling it in, not necessarily by choice, but that's just what happens. Just go with it. Someone said that my branch looked so easy. Practice, practice, practice. It's probably going to feel like a fish out of water to start with, but then it'll start getting easier and easier. How often do I clean out my ceramic palette? It kind of depends. Like if I'm going to reuse these same colors, I'll just leave them in there. But if I want different colors, then I'll just rinse it out. I often like using what's left over in here to practice with my brush strokes, because I can just use that leftover paint, which is fun, or the leftover paint in my mixing area on my palette. Remember that one I showed you last night had a lot of space, that bigger Mission palette. Okay, so those are just some simple branches that you can do. Let's practice some shapes. So we did some hearts last night. I did outline hearts like that. One of my favorite things to do is solid hearts, believe it or not. I love filling these in. And then you can do all kinds of fun things like adding other colors of paint in here. So let's get some cobalt blue. And I'm just gonna touch cobalt blue into this dark heart. And how fun is that? It's gonna spread around and look interesting as it dries. Another thing we can do, and by the way, this is why I use my clips. Sorry, my brush was in my mouth. Now, one thing I will say is I noticed this is really wet. In fact, there's even a drop of water in here. So I'm just going to soak up some of that excess paint with my thirsty brush so that it doesn't take forever to dry, and then it will also not create ugly blooms. Sometimes we get ugly blooms. So yeah, so there we go. Ooh, Dottie, It does look like Secret Sea. That is so true. It's interesting because some brands of Payne's Gray, which is what color this is, look more like a little more towards the end of Night of Navy, or Indigo is another color, a dark, dark blue. This one is a little bit more grayish and not really leaning too bluish, but that's why I threw some blue in there because it's kind of fun. Anyway, so that'll dry interestingly. So there you go. These are brush strokes. Lots and lots and lots of practice is what I highly recommend. And again, write little notes so that you can come back to this and remember. So this was my number 11, and it's a round brush. So I can remember what made these. Number 11. Round. And then this will really be helpful when you come back later on and you're like, what brush did I do this stuff with? What brush was this? It really does help. Okay, so enough of that. What I want to do is take that nice big number 11 brush and make some fun things. You can, see, this is some Canson paper. This will work. You can take and practice doing, actually, well, I want to do my other paper. So I'm going to pull out some, I thought I had some here. Ugh. I can't even tell you how much paper I have in my possession, but can I find a piece for right now? I thought I grabbed a bunch of paper. Hold on a second. Goodness gracious. Well, here's my Fluid 100. So this is 100% cotton paper. I love this paper for doing something like this. And what I'm going to do is take and do some hearts, kind of like we did with the circles last night. Do you remember that? So I'm going to kind of do a row of these, and we're going to let the paint run between them. And well, actually, yeah, I've got a couple of activities we're going to do with this. And this paint is not really the color of any of these, but we're just going to make it work. So again, I love when my paint runs. It makes me happy. So when I like letting, this is called kissing, when two shapes kind of touch one another. And sometimes they really bleed and blend, and sometimes they don't. Remember, we did circles just like this in our sketchbook last night, but our sketchbook paper is not as nice as our Fluid 100 paper. So we're going to just see what happens on this paper, because it definitely is going to look a little different. Now I just mixed some of this paint with some paint that was in my palette and got kind of a different look, so that's fine. Let's see, I'm going to do green next, mix things up. Sap green is like one of my favorite colors. And you can have them touch top to bottom too if you want. I'm just going to do another row here. And then we'll do cobalt, which I love, cobalt blue. And again, I'm kind of running out of room, so we're just going to sort of mix things up and see what we get. That is not cobalt blue. but that's okay. That's what happens when cobalt blue and green get mixed. Let's try again. Cobalt blue. I might have to take it straight from my, there we go. Straight from my palette. Now, what, again, these exercise teaches us are how much water needs to be on our paintbrush, how much paint needs to be on our paintbrush, and what happens when those shapes touch one another. Oh, I can't do that color again. Let's do this one. This is cobalt green. It's one of my faves too. I think I like it because it reminds me of Coastal Cabana. It's also a what's called a semi-transparent or semi-transparent, semi-opaque, semi-transparent color. So it's kind of interesting to see what happens. Okay, so there we go. Those look super fun. Now what we can do is, this is like my favorite thing to do. You probably know this because I do it in stamping all the time. I'm gonna kind of come back to my little palette here. I'm gonna pick up some color. My brush is real wet. I let a lot of the water stay in there, and I'm going to just tap this against my finger. And when I do, I get spritzes. And these spritzes make me happy. They do make a mess though. It's getting all over my table. You gotta be a little careful about that. You don't want any masterpieces sitting nearby, otherwise they will get covered in spritzes. So these are fun. I think it just adds kind of a whimsical touch to this. You can spritz with your white, you can spritz with your metallics, whatever you want. It's also fun to wait for these to dry and spritz again. Just like last night, we have kind of, this is more of a dry heart with this dot not spreading out because the heart was dry, but this area right here maybe was still a little wet, so it did spread out. You know, you get the idea. So we'll let this go, and then we're going to come back to this and add a little bit more here in a little bit, but we want it to dry first. Now, we've done some fun things. Let's take a look at what we can apply some of these brush strokes to actual projects. And again, let's see. Oh, I know. Where did my box go? I can take stuff out of my box. All right. So for this one, I'm going to take some of my Canson paper and we're going to make a card. And this is going to be a fun one. So prepare yourselves. And incredibly easy. Basically, very little skill or experience is required to make this particular project. I just need some tape. Okay, now based on a bit of personal experience, what I want to do is put a piece of tape across this. Actually, I'm going to do it this way, across here. Okay. And so I've got my piece of tape. This is just regular old Scotch tape, but I'm going to create an easy pull tab. So I'm folding the end over because it'll make it easier to pull this off here in a minute. Okay. And then I'm just pushing my tape down on my cards, on my paper. Again, this is Canson. So let's just paint a real simple heart. I'm just going to do blue, and you can see I'm doing a fair amount of pigment, and you can just fill it in. I like having lighter areas and darker areas. I don't like it being all uniform because I think it's much more interesting when it is not completely uniform. Okay, so that's really, really simple. We're going to let that dry. I'm going to set this over here. Then we're going to do another one. Again, very little natural ability needed. This one, we're going to do a longer piece of tape because we're going to go horizontal. And again, we're making the easy pull tab. I can't stress how helpful this will be for you. Oh, goodness. And then we're going to do this kind of right in the middle. Okay, So now we used the round brush for the last one. We're going to use the flat brush. This is the biggest flat brush you have. It's a number 10 in this set. The this flat brush would work too, but again, I don't think it's that great. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pick a variety of colors, whatever color combo you'd like. I'm going to go with maybe some yellows and oranges. We've been kind of sticking with some blues and greens, so let's mix it up a little bit. Literally, mix it up. Okay, so I'm going to go with a nice rectangle. I'm doing this a little bit at an angle. Okay, then I'm going to do my vermilion hue, which is that orange color. Okay, so I'm just painting this down a nice rectangle. Okay, rinsing my brush, and I'm gonna just go down the row here. I've got red, and you can alter kind of the angle and the size, the length of these. You want them to be similar but not wildly different, you know. Next up I've got, oops, my quinacridone magenta. Kind of doing that at a crazy angle. Rinsing my brush and getting my fave, which is this bright rose color. It's another kind of color of pink. And I think we'll leave it at that. Now we got to let this dry. And then we'll come back to this one. Now these pieces are a bit bigger than a card front, so we'll be able to trim them down a little bit. All right. We need to let them dry completely though, so I'm going to set them aside for a moment. And then let's do one more. Again, very little ability required for these. We're going to do some more rectangles. Okay, and again, just choose whatever colors you'd like. This time I'll do some of these colors. So I'm doing kind of a big rectangle here at the bottom. And I want it kind of centered on my cardstock, but if it's not perfectly centered, I can trim the paper down a little bit. Now, I just said cardstock, and that is not what this is. This is watercolor paper. Cardstock would be a disaster. Okay, so there's the first one. Kind of centered, but not totally. Then I'm going to put another rectangle, different shape on top, but plenty of space in between. We're not touching. Don't. It's like your little brother or sister. Don't touch me. And that looks a little bit wet. I can see because there's kind of water pooling in the corners here, and because of that, I do want to remove this. Kathy's asking what brush this is. This is the biggest flat brush. So this is like a number 10. Number 10 in this little set of brushes. Okay, so then I'm getting this color. And I'm gonna paint another rectangle. And by the way, before you, like this is one we're gonna turn into a card eventually, but if you wanna practice this in your sketchbook, great idea. Because then you have a record of it for later when you're like, oh my gosh, remember when I did that? And then you'll be like, that was a really cute idea. I should make some more of those. I'm telling you, it's good. And it's a way to practice it. Okay, so then I'm going to do a little shorter one right here. And another little short one right here. And one more, I think, over here. Kind of an oblong one. Now you'll notice that the colors I chose are all kind of in a row. Boom, 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 boom. So they're going to be somewhat analogous. So they're going to look good together. Okay, again, we're going to let that dry. Anybody have any guesses as to what I'm doing with these? Now I've got some wet paint. I'm going to soak that up just to help things dry a little faster on here. And then if we get a little impatient, we can bring out the guns. The heat guns, that is. Now I don't really care if the stuff on the tape is wet because we're going to remove the tape with the Easy Pull strip. Okay. Now I'm going to grab my black. So first of all, I'm going to do the Easy Pull strip. This is the best part. Oh. Okay. And then I'm going to take my marker and I've already smudged this, but that's okay because we can trim this. It's a little bigger than we need it to be anyway. So I'm just going to put a little wick on each of these candles. So a simple little line. Okay, then I am going to get a smaller brush. So this is my 7. The even smaller one would work fine too. And what I want to do is take and put in some flames. So I'm going to use the same yellow, but I'm going to water it down a bit, and it's probably mixing with probably this Naples yellow, which is an even lighter color yellow, and that's just fine. And I'm just going to paint our little flame, which is also very much like a leaf that we were practicing earlier. So how about that? And then again, this is made possible by our waterproof micron pen, my fine liner. Otherwise it would bleed and blend and look terrible. And look at how flippin' cute that is. And then all we need to do is take and stamp a happy birthday through the center of this. All right, but I want to make sure all of this is dry before I do that. So we'll set this aside, and I might not even get that into a card till tomorrow. We're still waiting on, I bet our heart is about done. There we go. So let's pull the heart off. Okay, fun. And you can do all bajillions of different colors, combinations of colors on these. Have a lot of fun with this. So then what I do want to stamp my sentiment in this. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to stamp, this is from the Mixed Labels, which I know this set actually just got discontinued. Let's see here. Ooh, You're Pretty Wonderful. I think that's going to fit right in there. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, and then you can stamp this. Now, this looks very much like blueberry bushel to me in color. You could choose a different color to stamp in the center of this, like my personal favorite, Coastal Cabana, which is I think what I'm going to do. Okay, now are you ready for this? Now this is not the exciting part. I mean, this will be nice, but the exciting part comes here in just a second. So I'm just going to stamp this, and I'm really just holding it here for a little hot second. Okay, so you're pretty wonderful. That looks great. Okay, are you ready? Here's where things get magical. I'm going to take my gold pen and I'm going to draw lines around. Notice they're not perfect in any way, shape, or form. How fun is that? So again, this is bigger than I need it to be, so I'm going to trim this down. You could fussy cut this out too if you wanted, but I think I'm just going to turn this into a card, and I will probably have the final version of this for you tomorrow. But a couple of words of advice. This, I think, is maybe not 100% dry. I jumped the gun. I do that sometimes because I get so excited. You want to make sure it's 100% dry because your lines will look a little weird if not. And you want to make sure you've got lovely lines. You could also use colored pencil to do this, whatever. You could doodle on here. You know, like I could do some gold dots just as a little accent. That's kind of fun. I could even do a couple up here to sort of carry that pattern. But so fun. We'll turn that into a card. Gold foil paper would look really fun with this. Okay. Let's come back to this little stack of awesomeness. She's not dry yet, so we're gonna make her dry faster. Okay, you can see my paper is starting to curl a little bit, so I like to flip it over and then heat it from the back, and that helps flatten it out. Usually when something gets completely dry, it does flatten out, but sometimes I have to kind of heat it on both sides for that to happen. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is, first of all, my plan is to stamp the words happy birthday at the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is decorate all of these presents. So I'm just doing bows like this. You can do all kinds of different bows, little bows, big bows, ribbons on your packages. So I'm kind of doing the lines and then little whatever. This one is actually really fun, is just to do some loops like that. And we'll just do a little line like that. Okay, here I'm going to do a bow on the side and a line kind of going out from the end. And then here, this is such a big one. I'm going to do a big fat ribbon, kind of off-centered. And if you need to get a ruler involved, you most certainly can. But this is kind of a free form thing, and you could even do circles or something, you know, since this is such a big package, I kind of like adding a little flair to it. Whatever you want. Okay. So there we go. I feel like I need to do something more to this. um, Maybe we'll do circles down the side too. So very fun. Then we'll stamp happy birthday at the bottom of this and turn this into a card. Okay, so many options. Now let's come back to this one. Again, I want to play with this just a teeny bit more, and I think it calls for some white gouache. I don't know where my white gouache went from my little, oh, here it is, I bet. Oh no, oh, here it is, my goodness. When I make your cards, do I use your watercolor paints or do I use Stampin' Up inks or a combination of both? You know, when I'm stamping, like I stamp an image and I watercolor in the outline image. You know, for instance, let me pull a set out here. If I were to watercolor this, it depends. I can go either way. Obviously, if I'm specifically making it into a card, I will probably use watercolor or my ink pads to do this, because then it will match my cardstock to make it into a card. When I'm doing stuff like this, which may or may not end up in a card, I'm not as critical about it. I think one thing you'll notice is when you start using watercolor paints, there's just something special about them, the quality of the paint, that it really makes a huge difference. They're more vibrant and they're just so beautiful. So I really love using my paint versus using my my ink pads. I guess it really just kind of depends on where I'm working. Because sometimes I'll paint away from my stamping space, and in that case, I am probably less inclined to use my watercolor. Wait, sorry. If I'm away from my desk, I'll use my watercolor paint. If I'm working at my stamping table with all my stamping supplies, I might be more apt to use the ink pads. I hope that it helps. But you can really use either. It comes down to your personal preference, but I feel like once you start using watercolor paint, especially even halfway decent paint, your mind will be made up for you, because it's just so amazing. Okay, so I've got a bunch of white gouache in here. So I just wet my brush, kind of mixed it around, got this kind of lathered up in my brush. I want my brush to be fairly wet and fairly painty so that this is going to be nice and opaque. I covered up my other paints so that I wouldn't get white gouache in them. This can be a little messy, and then we're going to just tap the gouache on here. And you can try and direct it, but to be honest, it's not always good at listening. And now I've got some nice little white speckles. I can get a little more water on my brush because I feel like right here I need some. There we go. Oh, perfect. So again, you can try and direct them a little bit, but it doesn't always work. And you can see I've got speckles of white all over my desk. So that just wipes up with a wet wipe or a wet washcloth. So there you go. Now here's, again, we can cut this into strips, or we can use this as like a background. We can dab up the big droplet of water I just got on there. But there you go. So super, super fun, and we can do something fun with that. Where's my little list for tonight? Okay. I think I've got it. One more thing. And this is another just really simple thing. But I think this is going to be fun. We're going to, and I encourage you to do this. I'm going to take that big number 10, I think that is. Yeah, number 10. And we're going to paint some stripes. I think I'm going to do all of them with my Payne's Gray. Okay. So I'm going to kind of mix that on my palette just because I'm sort of running out of space. When you're live, you can't really run to the bathroom and clean things. So, okay. What I'm going to do with this is just paint some stripes. And you can see I'm going pretty slow. I want to make sure I get a nice line. I don't want any of those, like my brush ran out of paint, scratchiness. And I'm going to kind of redistribute this paint so it's relatively even. I still want it to be, you know, have that watercolory look, but there's a pretty good looking stripe right there. Again, I'm working on my palette, not right out of my paint. And I'm just going to mix a little bit more water in there. Scrape the edge off. Because we're doing a nice long stroke, it's okay if we have a little more water than normal. But we're probably just going to redistribute that water so we get a nice even stripe. And so I am creating a striped background. And then tomorrow we're going to turn this into something fun. So here again, this is something, if you're feeling like you don't want to make a card but you want to paint, you can paint some of these backgrounds. And notice I'm going slowly. My lines are not perfectly straight. You could draw in some guidelines with a pencil, real light, if you felt you needed that. But this is just going to be a really nice little background, and then we can do something amazing with it tomorrow. So again, this is Payne's Gray. I saw somebody say it was a special color, and I would agree. It's hard to explain what it is about this color until you just start using it, you know. How often do I just use something you have watercolored on a card? The leaves and flower that you shared would make a beautiful card. Oh, for sure they would. So I have an entire course called Watercolor for Card Makers, and I don't know how many cards we made in that class, but like a bunch. A whole bunch. And yes, we can turn all of that practice into beautiful cards. Okay, so you can see I've got, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So there is my beautiful background. Now what I love is this is going to dry and have that kind of watercolor look about it. And then we will turn this into something amazing. And I can't remember who said this looks like Secret Sea, but oh, you're so right. Thank you for even saying that, because that kind of even makes me even more excited about this particular Payne's Gray. So that's very fun. Beth Ann says, I have some white and gold speckles from today's effort. Clean up tomorrow. Totally. When we had my watercolor retreat here this past spring, we were working on, you know, big banquet tables, and we had like grid paper down to protect our surface, but when we got really speckling, we did some projects with a lot of speckles, and let's just say I looked to see who the best speckler was, and I believe in the April session it was Kim, And I can't remember who it was in the June session. Maybe it was Courtney. I can't remember, but it was fun to see who speckled the most. So anyway, there you go. Just as a reminder, if you could like this video, that would just really rock my world. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Now, we will be back here again tomorrow night at the same time. Let me bring in all the things I showed you tonight because it was kind of a lot. I'm not going to show you every single thing, but we made this and we made this. We're going to turn these into fun little things. We made this. I'm going to stamp happy birthday at the bottom. Got to make sure I'm not putting wet, stacking up wet things. We made this. Oh, it's like we made another really cute one, this one. So we're going to stamp happy birthday across there. Then we practiced in our sketchbook several different things. We worked on playing with our different brushes and all the different things they can do. We also played with the background, or the circles, I'm sorry, that we did in our sketchbook yesterday. We painted them yesterday. We doodled on them today. Super, super fun. And, you know, so much more. This we didn't do anything with, so never mind. Oh, let me show you. I've got, oh, so this is funny. This is where the easy pull tab came from because I painted this heart. And these are some colorful stripes, kind of watery. This was much more pigmenty. Also still wet, so be careful, Dina. But the easy, I do not have the easy pull tab and I can't get the stupid thing up with my fingernails. Oh, I might have it here. There we go. This is why you do the easy tab, because it was really hard to get that going. I couldn't do it the other night. And part of it is because of my nails, but oh, so now I have a practice heart in my sketchbook so I can remember how awesome it was, right? But I think I had something else in here that I wanted to show you. Let's see, is it in here? No, I can't give away all my secrets. Oh, that's for tomorrow. But here's a couple more that I did. On this one, I wanted to stamp a smaller happy birthday right there. And then, of course, there we go. So these are some, again, all from our palette. So fun. I hope you enjoyed this. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Again, if you'd like to be entered into my prize drawing, I've got a palette just like this to give away. I've got one of those fun little clips that I was using, this nice fancy brass clip. It's nice and it's got some heft to it, so it'll hold your book open. And yeah, we're gonna have fun tomorrow. Can't wait. Hope you enjoyed another night of painting. Practice. Have fun, enjoy, relax, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Thanks so much for being here, friends. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.